You are not gonna fail for coasting. Here are 10 things that people say you will fail for, which are not true. Let's get into it. You're gonna hear a lot of people say that if you stall, you'll fail. I've seen people stall 3 times before they even got to cut them out of the test center and they still passed. Stalling in itself is not gonna be a fail, but what you do afterwards is gonna be important. So if I stall right now and then I let the car roll back, that's gonna be an issue. But if I stall and control it, and then calmly restart the car, and then do things properly now, which is get the biting point, and then smoothly bring the clutch up, adding a bit of gas. That way, I'm not going to stall. If I rush to move out and I bring the clutch up too fast, then I'll stall. And if I keep doing it too many times without correcting it, without making any improvements, then that's an issue. Or if I constantly stall over and over and over again, then that's going to be a problem as well. But stalling a couple of times here and there, you won't fail. So going the wrong way is not going to get you a serious fault. So like here, for instance, let's say the examiner told you to turn left, but then for some reason you've thought they said turn right, and you signaled right, and then you position yourself here correctly, and then you've made the right turn. See, this is not going to be a serious fault. It won't be a fault at all. What would be a fault is if you signaled right but then went left, or you confused people around you somehow. But if everyone around you knows that you're turning right and then you turn right, you're not going to get a fault. What will happen in that situation most of the time, the examiner will just tell you, oh, by the way, you went the wrong way, but don't worry about it, I'm going to redirect you. What you will fail for is, let's say you're supposed to turn right here, and then you suddenly think, oh wait, I'm supposed to go left, and then suddenly you turn left like that, or you turn left without a warning. That can be a problem. If you're gonna turn the wrong way, just commit to turning that way. As long as you do it safely, remember, that's the main thing. Don't do sudden turns just to make sure you're going the right way, because that's gonna get you into serious problems. It's not safe, and you probably will fail the test for that as well. So when you're doing a maneuver, especially a reverse maneuver into a bay, if you need to go over a line, so like now I'm gonna park in this bay here, and I'm gonna go over the line of the first bay, and then I'm gonna make sure I straighten up properly so that I actually end up inside the lines. This is not gonna be a serious fault. A lot of people I've seen in the comments, they say, oh, you've crossed the line, so therefore it means you failed. That's not true. You can't fail for going over the line. What you will fail for is if you finish the maneuver and you're outside of the bay and you don't realize and you don't do anything about it, or if you go too far back and you're about to crash into something behind you, then it's going to be a serious fault. But going over the lines themselves is not a fault in it. If you're pulling over and you misjudge the curb a bit and then you just give it a little clip like that, people panic thinking, oh my god, I failed now. You're not going to fail for that. If you smash into the curb at high speed, or you mount the curb and you go on the pavement, or you continuously do it too many times, then it's going to be an issue. But clipping the curb a bit once or twice, you're going to get a minor for it for steering, but you won't fail. If you're doing a reverse maneuver and you finish outside of the bay and you have to make corrections, so like now I'm over 2 bays right now, you're not going to fail for this straight away. What you will fail for, if you leave it here now and then you think, yeah, I'm done now, that's when you're going to fail. But if you correct it, so the first thing is to notice that you're not in the bay. First of all, you can do that by checking your mirrors, or opening your window, opening your door, or even coming out and check. And then now it's about making corrections. So check, have a plan, and then correct it. You can correct it a couple of times, a few times actually. There's no number of how many times you can correct it. The wording that they use is, if you're making improvements, they'll allow you to carry on. But if they can see that you're not really having a clue about what to do, then they might just tell you to stop and carry on doing something else, which probably means you failed. But if you can carry on, if you can fix it, and if you're making improvements to it, they'll let you continue. And then you are going to get a minor fault for this, but at least you're not going to fail. Now this one I hear all the time, and that is crossing your hands. Crossing your hands is not going to get you a serious fault. So like, I'll show you what I mean by crossing. So like going like this, yeah, turning like this is fine as long as the car is controlled you're not going to get a serious fault for this. You're not going to get any fault actually. If you lock your hands like this and then you're turning too wide, or if you're crossing your hands but then you lose control, that's when it might be a problem. But if you cross your hands and the car goes where you want it to go and it does what it's supposed to do, you are not going to get a serious fault for that. So steer how you want to steer. As long as the car is controlled, you should be fine. So when you're waiting to come out of a spot like this and you signal right, if somebody stops for you to let you out, that's not a fault. So here this person is stopped, but they're stopping for this pedestrian here. I just want to make sure that that's what they're doing. Yeah, they stopped for the pedestrian, not for me, but I'm gonna let them carry on. And if anybody stops for me to let me out, that's not going to be a serious fault. If you come out and force them to stop, that's going to be a fault. If you indicate or you think they were letting you come out but they weren't, and then you force them to stop again, that's also going to be potentially a serious fault. But if you can see, if they've seen your signal and then they stopped on their own accord to let you come out, then it's fine. Just make sure that they are letting you out. Like in that situation there, they're already going past me, but then they stopped for the pedestrian to cross. And I wasn't sure if they could see me or not properly, because remember, if someone's side by side with you, sometimes they can't see your signal. And so don't think, oh, the person stopped, I'm definitely gonna go. Look at the situation and think, why have they stopped? And communicate with the driver if you can. And if it's for you, then you can make a move and it's not gonna be a serious fault. I see a lot of learners stressing about the show me, tell me questions, especially just before their test. But you can't fail if you answer it wrong. So if you get the wrong, let's say they've asked you to do the windscreen wipers on washers, and then you press something here and you do the wrong thing, you're gonna get a minor fault for that. If you answer both of them incorrect, you're still gonna get one minor fault. Where you're gonna fail is, let's say they've asked you to do something, and then you're busy looking down here, but you're not seeing what's happening in front of you, or you're taking your eyes off the road for too long, that's when it's gonna be an issue. So in the first place, practice the show me, tell me questions before you go for your test, but don't stress about it too much, and just understand that if you get it wrong, you're not going to fail. The most important thing is driving safely. So if you don't know how to do it, try, but don't waste too much time trying to figure out and then losing control or losing focus on what you're trying to do. If I tried to go around that bus, that probably would have been a fail. That's something that a lot of people don't realize you can fail for as well. So I've done another video where I showed people things that you can fail for that people don't realize. So make sure you check that one out as well. So coming out of a junction can sometimes be really tricky, and it might require take a bit of time to check properly. The number one reason people fail is observation at junctions, and I think one of the main reasons is because learners think they have to be really quick at junctions, but you can take your time and check properly to make sure that it's safe. Don't be scared of hesitation, because I think a lot of people are wrongly scared of hesitation, and they have the wrong idea about what hesitation is. Hesitation is if you're taking way too long at every single time, every single junction, and you're just not going when you can go. But checking properly to make sure that it's safe is not hesitation. So don't worry about taking your time to be safe. You won't fail for that. So this one might surprise you, but you are not gonna fail for coasting. Yeah, let me say that again. You're not gonna fail for coasting. People are so scared to coast because they've heard so many bad stories about, oh, you're gonna fail if you coast. If you coast in a way that you lose control of the car, then you're going to fail. But let's say here, for instance, I press the clutch a little bit and I brake. It's not the best thing to do. I should have braked first, but you're not gonna fail for that. The car was still under control, it was fine. But if I'd coasted into a corner, let's say, and I go too fast and I lose speed, I lose control of my speed, then I can fail for that. But just a bit of coasting here and there is not gonna get you in trouble. So I saw this one on my comments earlier, and I've seen it lots of times before as well, and that is that examiners can only pass a certain amount of people per day. This is completely untrue. If you imagine, they would have to make up something. Let's say you go for your test and they've met their daily quota for the amount of people they can pass, but you drive really well, that means they're gonna have to make up stuff that you've done wrong, which is not correct. If you drive properly and you drive safely, you are going to pass. Don't let that excuse about, oh, they can only pass a certain amount of people a day make you fail your test, because that is not true. People like to use that as an excuse because they didn't do so well on the day, so they have to try to blame something else. But if you do well, if you practice enough and you drive safely on the day, they're not going to fail you for no reason.